Another move the Browns made this week, kind of a surprising move, signed backup quarterback Tyler Huntley. This is a guy who I was talking about in years past. I'd love to have on the team as a potential Baker replacement.
Do you remember that episode that we did talking about quarterbacks before we traded for Deshaun Watson? And the two guys, who were the two guys we talked about?
Talked about Jameis Winston and Huntley.
And Tyler Huntley. And now they're both the backup quarterbacks in Cleveland. So it's kind of crazy.
This was a surprising move to me.
Okay.
In terms of, does it say a couple different things? Does it say Deshaun's not going to be ready week 1? I don't know. Does it say they're not as high on DTR? I don't know. I think the one thing it says for sure is the offense is going to be much different. That's what it says to me.
That's definitely what it says to me. And I see the stuff about, well, what does it say in terms of Deshaun being ready or DTR's development and all that kind of stuff? But I saw a post, and forgive me, I forget who shared it on Twitter, but looking back at Andrew Berry's 4 years, the Browns always have 4 quarterbacks throughout the offseason and training camp. Last year, they had 3 until they drafted DTR, and then they had 4. So it was, Deshaun and Kellen Mond and Dawgs and DTR. So this year, it's the same kind of group of 4 guys. They all have that same similar skill set.
I do find it funny, a funny sentiment that the Browns now have 3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks.
Man, whenever I saw somebody tagged us in that on Twitter, I was like, don't.
I know.
Don't open up to that shit, because we talk so much crap to Tyler Huntley about, even he knows his Pro Bowl wasn't real. I mean, come on.
No, I agree, but
he's like his good backup quarterback.
I like his skill set. The Browns backup QB room now is loads better than it was last year.
And I think that's the other thing it tells me too, is that, again, Andrew Berry does not make the same mistake twice. I don't think so. Last year he felt confident enough in Deshaun and the health of the quarterback position. We'll roll with DTR. And then as he learned, and as a lot of GMs and coaches learned throughout the NFL last year, you got to have support in the backup quarterback role, because guys get hurt. It just happens. It sucks, but it's the NFL. It's the way it goes. So he definitely built a stronger backup position this season.
And I think now you're seeing guys who all have similar skill sets. The least mobile one is Jameis, but he can still, he can still move a little bit. I think you're seeing an offense, like I said earlier in the episode, it's going to be way more spread out, shotgun, throwing the ball around, all that good stuff. I think I said, what does this mean for DTR's future? He's going to be the odd man out in terms he's going to be a practice squad QB. I don't know I don't know if we'll carry 3 guys on the active roster, but DTR is the only one with practice squad eligibility. So unless we're going to cut Huntley, because you're not cutting Jameis. So unless you cut Huntley, he's got to be on the active roster. You're going to be carrying 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think a good point I saw online, this was from Quincy Carrier. He said the Browns might trade DTR. That's what it smells like to me. Contrary to popular belief, his play style is very different than DW4. He's more similar to Brock Purdy. If the offense was moving away from Joe Flacco, it was also moving away from DTR. I completely agree. People talked about DTR's mobility, but he wasn't big enough to be a mobile quarterback. He's not big. I don't want DTR running around a ton out there. You know what I mean?
He's a slender dude.
Like, he can move a little bit if he needs to, but like he said, he's much more a Brock Purdy type quarterback. So I think DTR could be on the way out, which would be kind of crazy. They'd give up on him after 1 year. But I think you've seen that the Browns are able to they don't make emotional decisions, in my opinion. Like, it's business and it's calculated, and they're good people and they're good to their people, but at the end of the day, it's like about production and it's a business, and you got to do what you got to do to get the best team out there. It'll be interesting to see what we do with DTR going forward.
It's a good point, because you see this with a lot of the draft picks from Andrew Berry. They're good. They usually this is what Andrew Berry likes to do. He likes to fill out the roster, the starting kind of primary spots with free agents. He's really good at that. And then he likes to draft for development and future. I think it's a very smart move. It's been working for the Browns pretty well. So DTR, though, he's not ever going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Like, we're going into the season with DTR as the starter. That's never going to happen, because as long as he's here, we have Deshaun Watson, and with all the void years, the restructures, They've already talked about Deshaun Watson on a 10-year timeline. And I don't think the Browns want to roll with DTR ever as like the guy.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't think he could. Personally, I love the kid. I don't know if he can develop into anything like that.
No, I agree. And Andrew says new rules say we can carry 3 active quarterbacks. They won't all count to the 53-man roster. I need to get better at understanding this emergency quarterback. I always thought that was like a guy who was practice squatted throughout the week that on game day could dress as your emergency. If you can have 3 active QBs and a practice squad guy, then okay, but then maybe they're all on the team. I think a hidden thing about Huntley is, well, one is it's insight to the Ravens locker room.
It's true.
You know what I mean? He knows that team. He knows their information, all that good stuff. And it's a guy who can be a Lamar in practice. It's hard to simulate Lamar. And I'm not saying Tyler Huntley is Lamar, but he's very similar in play style in terms of mobility and throwing. And it's hard to replicate that if you don't have, I mean, a lot of times you hear teams are using wide receivers to try to replicate that. Now you're getting a guy who you can put out there who can help prepare you for your toughest test in the division. So I think that's like a little bit of a hidden perk to him being on this team, is some insight into one of your biggest division rivals.
Oh, I fully agree.
And what about the year of just the FU to your old teams?
Oh, yeah.
Saquon going to the Eagles, Patrick Queen going to the Steelers, now Huntley coming to the Browns. It's hopefully nobody from the Browns signs with a division rival.
Well, I think everybody that was leaving from the Browns that
they already got signed.
Yeah, was an impactful player has already been signed.
So, but I think that's a hidden perk that I don't know if a lot of people have thought about it from that point of view. Is it just kind of, it's a little bit of anything you can get to get an edge when you're playing a division rival. I think it helps.